Today we're going to talk about Nervous Subject, one of the most interesting characters in the Sim universe. We'll go over his general timeline and background and then deep dive into some of the most interesting theories about him. And just as a warning, things down the line are going to get a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try to keep everything as simple as possible to start us off. So who is Nervous Subject? Nervous is a male adult sim originally found in Strangetown in The Sims 2. His hobbies include twitching and blinking a lot. He is the son of Olive Spectre, a woman rumored to be a serial killer. Without going into too many details on the rumors, Olive has a graveyard right outside her house where you can find everything from random townies like a maid or a deliveryman to all of her ex-husbands. But to be honest, what creeps me out the most is the fact that she has this sofa chair out here so she can come lounge around her graveyard collection. Anyway, she could be the topic for a whole other video. Her fascination with death, however, is very important when discussing Nervous Subject, as his father is actually suspected to be the Grim Reaper himself. Going through Olive's memories, it can be seen that she woohooed with the Grim Reaper and shortly after gave birth to Nervous Subject. Some people argue against this theory, as she only woohooed with the Grim Reaper after she aged up, meaning she would have been an elder at the time, making it impossible in-game for her to get pregnant. However, there is more evidence to prove this than to disprove it. The fact that he is the Grim Reaper himself already seems like a good enough reason for him to be able to get someone pregnant when they normally wouldn't be able to. This wouldn't be the first time we see something like this happen in The Sims, as male characters are actually able to become pregnant through alien abductions, something not otherwise possible in The Sims 2. Nervous Subject also looks nothing like his mother, which many also take as a hint towards his father being the Grim Reaper, though his genes are unknown to us. Finally, both The Sims 3 and 4 support the fact that the Grim Reaper is actually Nervous's father. The Sims 3 basically straight up admits it. Let's take a look at an extract from the Spectre family bio in The Sims 3. Furious at death, she decided to track him down and give him a piece of her mind. What she didn't expect was to start a relationship with him. That ended quickly, but she was left with something to remember him by. Now it's just her and her young son. We will discuss the clue left for us in The Sims 4 further into the video as it will become more relevant. So far, we've established that Olive, Strangetown's friendly neighborhood serial killer, managed to develop a relationship with the Grim Reaper, and that's how Nervous Subject was conceived. Now, if you're not familiar at all with sim lore and know nothing about Nervous, you might be wondering who in the right mind would name their child Nervous Subject. Especially for the son of a serial killer and Death himself, you'd expect something very different. There is a simple answer to this and the complicated one. We're going to stick to the simple one for the purpose of this video, drawing information only taken from The Sims 2, where Nervous's birth name is actually a mystery to us. This is because shortly after being born, Nervous gets taken away from Olive by social workers. Flash forward to The Sims 2 present day, or the state of the game when you first play it, and you will find Nervous just a few streets away from his mother's home in Strangetown, residing at the Beaker's household. Now you may be thinking, is this an inspirational story about how a lovely family decides to adopt someone in need and save them from spending the rest of their days in an orphanage and give them a better life? And the answer to that is not quite. Nervous is actually faced with the misfortune of being taken in by Loki and Cersei Beaker, an inventor and a medic, both evil and eager to advance in their careers at all costs. Let's take a look at their in-game bios. As soon as he perfects his latest invention, Loki is sure to get the recognition he knows he deserves. In the meantime, he keeps himself busy by trying to assemble a nuclear reactor out of common household items. Cersei knows 238 different ways to make someone scream, and none of them are nice. Needless to say, Nervous Subject's name comes from the fact that that's all he is. A subject, used to experiment on by the Beaker family in order to improve their career journeys. Loki and Cersei's strong devotion to science and medicine are also reinforced in The Sims 3 and 4. Remember when I said The Sims 4 gave us further clues into Nervous Subject being the son of the Grim Reaper? Well, I downloaded an official Maxis recreation of the Beaker family, which was uploaded to the Sims 4 gallery on March 14, 2019. And although The Sims 4 occurs in an alternate universe than that of The Sims 2, if you decide to play with this family, you will see that Loki and Cersei are joined not only by Nervous Subject, but also by two genetically engineered twins created by Loki, Atom and, I apologize for completely pronouncing this wrong, Cerise. They were first introduced in The Sims 3 Into the Future, but let's not get jumbled up in the Beaker family history and stick to Nervous Subject, although this is already something super creepy coming from Loki. The family bio reads, what experiments are the highly secretive and less than neighborly Loki and Cersei Beaker performing on poor Nervous Subject? Is it true that their children are clones? Will this secrecy affect Cersei's career ambitions? What makes Nervous Subject worth experimentation? When we check out nervous subject's job in the work panel, we will see the following. A test subject at the mercy of the Beakers, specifically Loki Beaker. Why? What made Project G8IM so valuable? Could it have been to do with Loki's notes on genetic composition and the subject's sire? Yep, that's definitely backing up the fact that the Grim Reaper is nervous subject's father. The focus on genetic composition and the subject's sire is definitely strongly hinting at the fact that Nervous is not just a regular human being. But there's something else there. Now, the first time I was reading this text, I read it as Project Grim and thought to myself, yeah, this is definitely hinting that the Grim Reaper is Nervous's father. But if I were to read this correctly, it would say something like this. Project Gatum. Gatum? Now, if you heard the word gay in there, that might actually not be a coincidence. When Nervous's gender preferences is checked in SimPE, a third-party program which allows players to view and often work with the package files in The Sims 2, it can be seen that he actually has a slight distaste for women. So this could simply be a reference to that. Although, as with all the Sims, when playing the character, you can change his gender preferences during gameplay by having him perform romantic interactions with female characters. Nervous subject's aspiration is family, and when the Beaker slot is first played, he will often roll once for flirt or hug, even though he will not like doing these things. The game has also been set up in a way that unless he is taken away from the lot in time, Nervous will go into an aspirational failure. I believe this is simply to help the player see just how damaged Nervous really is. Nervous is not very popular, his only friend is Pascal Curious. Now we're about to enter the creepiest aspect of the story of Nervous subject, and yes, you heard that right, things get even creepier. The Nervous subject which Olive remembers giving birth to is actually not the same Nervous found in the Beaker household. There is a hidden Sim in the games file, which is the one Olive remembers giving birth to and had taken away. This Nervous appears in the storytelling images of the Beaker family. This raises what is perhaps the biggest question of them all. Why are there two Nervous subjects? Some people may question whether these two are perhaps intended to be the same person in-game. However, and get ready for this one, because the first time I saw this I was actually very creeped out. The characters look very different. I might have nightmares thinking about the hidden Nervous subject. Some argue that they've put the second Nervous subject file for story purposes. Maybe it was too hard for the developers to maintain the story how they wanted it while only having one Nervous subject to work with. But if that was the case, they could have kept the character looking the same or only include minor differences in the appearance so people wouldn't really notice. So this leads us to the most interesting part of the video. Yes, finally, the theories. I know exactly what theory I prefer and believe, and I'll cover it at the end of the video, but I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on these other theories, and if you have any theories not covered in the video, please comment them below because I would love to discuss them. The first theory, which in my opinion has already been debunked, is that the two Nervous files are just there for the purpose of laying out the story and achieving something the developers couldn't figure another way around. As stated, this seems very unlikely to me, having both characters looking so different. The hidden Nervous also has memories, which is unusual for a hidden Sim. So someone went out of their way to set this up, if you ask me. Let's move on to some other interesting theories. On the Sim fandom page, someone wrote, I read on the Sims website that she had twins, but since the Grim Reaper couldn't live with them, he killed one and that one came to live with him. But since Olive was depressed, she neglected Nervous and he got taken away from her. Strangely, there is no memory of her ever having twins. They say it was a glitch they could not fix. Now, this person makes it sound like this was something official, but I haven't found a page that backs this up. In any case, the theory is still pretty interesting and not the first to suggest there might have been two babies in the first place. What do you guys think? It seems possible, since Olive has such a strong relationship with death, that she'd be willing to let one of her children die so he could be with their father. However, killing your ex-lover or mailman is very different from your own child, so this would explain why she neglected Nervous and ultimately had him taken away. Another theory from user GetsFan in 2010 reads, I honestly think Nervous was the actual father of the Beaker family Nervous. Although short, this could be an interesting idea to explore, especially when trying to connect different timelines together, such as The Sims 2 PSP and The Sims 3. Another theory suggests that maybe Nervous died and was brought back to life by his father as he is the Reaper and is able to do this. The interesting thing about this theory is that most of it could really fall into place. If the hidden nervous died due to all the experiments the Beakers did on him, maybe this explains why he looks so different. They messed up his face. Where the theory falls short is in the fact that his father wouldn't bother resurrecting his own child just for him to continue to be tortured by a family. That is, assuming that the Grim Reaper cares for his child. Perhaps he doesn't, and that's why he resurrected him, just to let him continue to be tortured. Let's finish off with my favorite theory. I personally think this seems to make the most sense in terms of story, timeline, and evidence, so let's dive in. The hidden nervous subject is actually the star of a Sims 2 trailer called Friday the 13th. Nervous is seen suffering throughout the day and ultimately died by satellite at the end of the video. In said video, he has a teen male voice instead of the adult male voice. If we follow the timeline, we know that Nervous Subject moved into the Beaker family home around the time of being a teenager. Hidden Nervous Subject's last memory is moving into the Beaker family home, so we know his death took place during this time, while playable Nervous continues to have memories after moving in. I think the Friday the 13th video shows the reality of Hidden Nervous Subject's fate in the Beaker household. He was tortured and treated badly. His mental health is clearly not good and he's being mistreated. At the end of the clip, we see his death and Grim coming to collect him. I think this is a true story for the Hidden Nervous Subject. However, what is not shown is that through all their experiments, the Beakers cloned a Nervous, and this is the result of the playable Nervous in The Sims 2. The playable Nervous acquired some of the memories from his original self. Furthermore, his genes must have been compromised during the cloning, and this would explain why Hidden Nervous recognizes Willow, the deceased sister of Nervous's mother Olive, and Ophelia, Willow's daughter, as his aunt and cousin respectively, and vice versa, but the playable Nervous does not have any relationship with Willow or Ophelia. The Sims 2 has some crazy stories, so I would really say that I stand behind this theory. I haven't gone further and tried to fit the story with anything related to The Sims 3 or Sims 2 PSP, really just because of time constraints, but if that's something you guys are interested in seeing, let me know. I want to hear your thoughts on the theories. Which is your favorite? Do you think people are just reading too much into it? Do you have your own theories? I can't wait to discuss, so leave your comments down below. Thanks so much for watching!